All right, I guess it's time to make childhood trauma the deck, and then make it everybody else's problem. So recently on stream, I was playing a lot of Final Fantasy III, and if you've played Final Fantasy III, you know that it is a experience of a game. Why is that there doing that? I don't know why I did that scene. Anyway, it's definitely an interesting experience. It's an RPG with a lot of customizability that is also very inflexible. It has a way that it wants you to play it, and if you break away from that, the game just kind of stops working. Like, do you want to play red mages all throughout the game? That's fine. You won't be able to kill the final boss. Do you want to play the game and have any combination of classes that you want? That's fine. You won't have the damage to kill the final boss. You have to use the upgraded classes unless you've over-leveled your stuff. It's very, very weird. I don't hate it. It is a childhood joy of a game for me. But there is a bit of trauma that I never managed to get over as a kid, and that was the Crystal Tower, which I am in this footage. At least I am in various areas near the Crystal Tower. Is it? I don't think, is this in the, yeah, this is in the Crystal Tower, actually. So, fun thing about the Crystal Tower, it is several floors with no areas to save whatsoever, and nothing but suffering in between all of it. It is just all pain, all the time, from the bottom to the top, with very few instances where you get to actually refresh your health and mana, especially if you're playing the older versions of the game. Now, all of this culminates in a battle with the Cloud of Darkness. Now, in Magic the Gathering, the Cloud of Darkness is not a great card. It's just not. There's ways to make it really good, but by and large, it's not a fantastic card on its own. But childhood me, who had just discovered YouTube, was watching people deal with the Cloud of Darkness on their 3DS versions of Final Fantasy by picking ninjas and spamming shurikens at it, and I never saw people doing anything else other than that, and I refused to continue playing the game that was beating my ass if the only way I was allowed to beat it without suffering was having a class I did not want to play with a playstyle that I've never cared for in Final Fantasy. I don't like the throwing playstyle. I'd rather use spells and melee weapons. It's just who I am as a person and how I prefer to play my video games. So, when I started playing through Final Fantasy III recently, and I knew I was going to eventually have to fight the Cloud of Darkness, I figured the best way to fight that childhood trauma of knowing this impenetrable wall was going to be at the end of what was, up until that point, a fantastic experience, and this just all fell apart at the very end. I wanted to go ahead and build a $15 version of Cloud of Darkness to see if I could make something that is both fun for y'all to play and can help me get over my problems. And I discovered a couple things while building this deck. The first thing I discovered is that I really did not know just how much of a problem this character was going to be for me. The Cloud of Darkness is just, why is she so hot? I do not understand. Like, this is what I saw her as when I was a kid, and I didn't quite understand at the time that I was playing this game just what a character designed like this would end up doing to me later as an adult with full access to the internet and maybe even Rule 34. I don't even know. That said, all things considered, it did not occur to me how this character was built until I was building this deck and looking at the actual art for the character in the game. And, well, that's enough of me being thirsty. Let's talk about how to play the deck. The Cloud of Darkness is a Golgari and Green and 2 avatar character that has flying and the particle beam effect that says that it will make a single creature take -X until end of turn, where X is the number of permanents in our graveyard. I have a very strange feeling with this card, and it's not because of the weird feelings the Cloud of Darkness makes me feel. No, it's because the Particle Beam is the only thing this boss spams at you in Final Fantasy III, and in Final Fantasy III, the Particle Beam is, well, it's not a board wipe like these guys are. It just kills a single thing, which is weird to me because the way the Particle Beam works in Final Fantasy III is it just wipes your party over and over and over again, dealing between 1,000 and 2,000 damage to each individual person all at once. And you just kind of have to tank it and do your best. Like, it's not a very dynamic fight, but the Particle Beam, you'd think in Magic the Gathering, would also be a board wipe because that's what the Particle Beam is in the games. But I guess having -X based on permanence to everything on the board repeatable in the command zone would be a bit broken, so I kind of understand why it's this way. I don't know. Just kind of a strange, almost got there, but didn't quite make it there flavor fail for me. That all said, let's talk about what we are trying to do. We are building a control deck that is going to try to grind our opponents out and then punch them in the face for dead. Firstly, we need to get things in the graveyard to make sure that our commander can kill targets at all. So we have 8 cards that engage in a self-mill strategy. The Patient Naturalist lets us mill 3 cards and put a land from among them onto our hand. Then we have the Town Greeter and the Aenok Wayfinder and the Satyr Wayfinder, which all do basically the same thing. Then we have Stitcher Supplier, which will allow us to mill 3 when it comes into the battlefield or when it dies. Grizzly Salvage, which lets us mill 5 and then place one of those cards into our hand. Nyx Weaver, which will mill us by 2 every upkeep and can also recur cards later. And a Dreadhound, which not only will mill us by 3 when it touches the board, but will also burn our opponents every single time a creature dies or is put into a graveyard from a library, i.e. milling. Problem, though, we need a way to win the game that is reliable, and that Dreadhound leads us very cleanly into Sir Conrad the Grim. Whenever another creature dies or a creature is put into a graveyard from anywhere, so even when we mill, he will burn everybody for 1, and we can pay 2 to make every player mill a card, which just benefits us. And speaking of cards in graveyards, if things are in your opponent's graveyard, why not use Sepulchre Primordial to steal all the best creatures and use them to the nines? And if we have a board state filled with all kinds of black creatures, why not add in a Gray Merchant of Asphodel that will burn all our opponents for a lot of life, giving us tons of life in the process? And then let's go ahead and throw in a Finale of Eternity. This allows us to blow up 3 target creatures, and then we can just get all of our creatures back from our graveyard at once if we spend 10 or more mana into the X of this spell. If you're spending 12 mana on a spell, it should be either winning the game or doing something so tempo swinging your opponents cannot recover from it. But there is something we need to be recovering, and it is all the cards we are milling from our own graveyard. And we need to be able to reuse our own commander's effect too, so let's go ahead and talk about how we're going to be doing that. Check this out. We have a reanimation recursion engine, which is going to be making liberal use of all of our cards. We have Presumed Dead, Fake Your Own Death, Infused with Vitality, Return to Action, Supernatural Stamina, and Abnormal Endurance. All of these allow us to revive a creature if it were to die. We just place this on them right before they die, and then they reset. And how are we going to make those creatures die? Well, we're going to use cards like Deadly Brew to sacrifice them in order to get things back from our graveyard and force all of our opponents to sack things as well, or we're going to be using Rise of the Witch King to sack a creature, which is also allowing us to get any permanent back from our graveyard when we do it, or Dread Return, which can sack creatures, allowing us to revive a creature when we use that, or Victimize, which sacks a creature, allowing us to revive creatures when we do it. You see what's kind of happening here. And since we're getting things into the graveyard, if we don't have one of those cards, why not have a Timeless Witness or an Honest Rutstein, allowing us to get those cards back? And if we are playing the true control strategy, we need to be leaning hard into cards that give us a lot more oomph for the cardboard we are spending. So Ever After and Coiling Rebirth can both be used to get us multiple creatures on the board with multiple effects all at once. And since we have so many cards that need to be dying throughout the game, why not throw in a Vat of Rebirth so that we will be able to get cards back from our graveyard as we lose them. All in all, we should be able to do things like kill our Grey Merchant of Asphodel and then bring it right back, or kill our Dreadhounds and bring them back, or kill our Sepulchre Primordials and bring them back, so that we can get lots and lots of value throughout the game. That said, we are not quite done with the deck. The core strategy is always just one part of it. We still need to talk about how we're going to draw through the deck to get to that core strategy, and then we got to talk about removal and ramp and all that other fun stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about draw. We're going to be running an 11-card draw engine, and a lot of these are doing the same thing. Altar's Reap, Nasty End, Morbid Curiosity, Eviscerator's Insight, Costly Plunder, and Village Rites all allow us to sacrifice a creature to draw 2 cards. Then we have the Tarian's Journal, which can be used to sack a creature to draw 1 card, but it is repeatable. Since we're losing creatures at such a good rate, let's have Death Reap Ritual, Moldervine Reclamation, Morbid Opportunist, and Warden of the Cycle. All of these allow us to draw cards if our creatures die. And honestly, that's probably the fastest I've ever gone through a draw package, but we really only have 2 kinds of draw. We have cards that sack creatures to draw cards, and cards that benefit from creatures dying to also draw us cards. Pretty simple, makes it really easy to move into the removal section. And here we are going to be running a 14-card removal package with a couple of board wipes. Remember, our commander is one of our removal cards too, but let's throw in Fleshbag Marauder and Plague Crafter and Accursed Marauder and Demon's Disciple and Merciless Executioner, as they all allow us to make all players sacrifice a creature when they touch the board. We can sacrifice these guys and then get them back with a reanimation spell to effectively board wipe people. Let's also run Gaius von Belzar. He does the same thing, but he can also make people sacrifice enchantments, which can have some great use cases later in the game. Cankerbloom can sack itself to blow up artifacts or enchantments. Vile Mutilator can make all people sacrifice a creature and enchantment, and the Duskmangler can make everybody lose a card in their hand, lose 4 life, and lose a creature. Deathsprout can be used to blow up any creature and then draw us a card. Well, not really. It puts a land on the battlefield. I don't know why I said draw us a card. Yo, just want to interrupt this video to say, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel, and if you're already doing that, then maybe you can check the description of every video so that you can go and support the channel. There's a mana pool link there where you can get any and all of your singles and this deck and any other deck that I talk about, and you can even go down there and pick up the channel's playmat if you would like to rep the channel out in real life. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this, and let's get back to the video. Then we have Binding the Old Gods, which blows up a non-land permanent, then gets a forest out of our library, and then has an effect that nobody remembers afterwards. And then we have Rankle Master of Pranks, a repeatable way to sacrifice our creatures so that we can use our reanimation spells, and it's got flying and haste, so when it punches people, it can make people discard cards, and it can also cause us to make everybody draw cards if you really want to. And then we have a Butcher of Malak here. With all this sacrificing going on, why not go ahead and make all of our opponents sacrifice creatures alongside us? Finally, let's put in a Feed the Swarm to get rid of a creature or an enchantment if need be. For our board wipes, we're going to be running Necromantic Selection to blow up all the creatures and then pick one of them and then revive them. Remember, we can use this to revive anybody's commander, because commanders get thrown back into the command zone as a state-based action that players can choose to opt into. But because Necromantic Selection has no time where people are able to make choices in between the beginning and the resolution of its effect, if it blows up a creature, it is able to revive that creature onto your board, irrespective of your opponent's whims and wishes. Then we have the Gaze of Granite to blow up all non-land permanents with mana value X or less. That way we are able to get rid of problematic cards like people's Soul Rings. And that does it for our removal package. Now all we have to do is talk about mana, and we will be off to the races. We don't really want much in the mana department with this deck, so we're only running a 7-card ramp package. Remember, a couple of our removal spells also ramp us, so that is helping us a bit there. We're going to be running Dawn Treader, Elk, Diligent Farmhand, and Sakura Tribe Elder as creatures that can sack themselves to get us lands. Then we have Wayfarer's Bauble and Font of Fertility, which are both the same card. They can also sack themselves to get us lands. Then we have a Milkin, which can mill cards and give us mana throughout the game, and a Rampant Growth to go into our library and get any basic land out and put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you find that you're hurting for mana, you can always run an extra card like Search for Tomorrow, but I didn't find that that was really necessary here. Then for our basic lands, we have 14 swamps and 11 forests, with our dual lands and the untapped categories being Tainted Woods, Exotic Orchard, Viridescent Bog, Command Tower, and Necroblossom Snarl. We'll have our tapped lands be the Golgari Rot Farm to reuse utility lands, Temple of Malady so we can gamble on the turn 1 plays, and Haunted Mire so that we have something that a Wood Elves can grab later in the game if you decide to go for that. Also, you can always do fun things like add in a 3 visits or a Nature's Lore if you happen to have them, and now Haunted Mire is going to be doing you a lot more good when you do. For our fetching lands, we are running Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, and a Myriad Landscape, so we have one more way to ramp. And for our utility lands, we have a Grim Backwood so that we can sacrifice creatures when we need to, and a Pit of Offering so that we can get rid of cards in people's graveyards if we happen to be dealing with reanimation players. That all said, that is it for this deck. All we got to do now is talk about how to play it. Looking at this opening hand, we have a Village Rites and a Victimize, a Coiling Rebirth. We got some graveyard and draw stuff, and we have a Diligent Farmhand, so we can start off with ramping. So let's go ahead and play a Forest, tap it, get the Farmhand out, and then pass to our opponents. Moving into the next turn, let's go ahead and play a Swamp, tap 2. Let's get that Farmhand into the graveyard and get another Swamp out of our deck post haste. Then we'll move into turn 3. We have a Nyx Weaver available to us. Let's go ahead and play the Nyx Weaver so that when our upkeep comes up, we can go ahead and mill 1, 2, and then draw our card for the turn. We have a Death Sprout here available to us. Let's play a Forest. And our opponent's probably got a card on the board that we care about getting rid of by now. So let's go ahead and Death Sprout that card, then go into our library and get ourselves out another Forest so that we have plenty of mana for the following turns. And then as we go into our next turn, the Nyx Weaver is going to mill 1 and then 2 cards, and then we get to draw a card. Finale of Eternity is in our hand. We have one of our big Wombo combos ready to go when the time comes, but we need to fill our graveyard with some stuff first. So let's go ahead and play the Grisly Salvage, letting us mill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, and we get to get one of these to our hand. Let's get the Command Tower. No, actually, I want the Myriad Landscape in our hand. Because with the Vile Mutilator in our grave, we can pay 3 to play Victimize, sacrifice the Nyx Weaver, and go into our grave and get 2 creatures out. Let's get the Vile Mutilator and the Fleshbag Marauder. Yes, this stops us from milling our deck more throughout the game, but this does set all of our opponents back by getting rid of 2 creatures at once, and we can get our Nyx Weaver back pretty easy, all things considered. Let's play the Myriad Landscape as our land for turn, and then pass to our opponents. We drew Terramorphic Expanse. Let's go ahead and play it, and one of our opponents probably has something we care about getting rid of, so let's go ahead and pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's use that Cloud of Darkness, blow up one of our opponent's things, and then we'll use the Myriad... we can't use the Myriad Landscape right now. Unfortunately, we can't use the Myriad Landscape right now. We're just going to crack the Terramorphic Expanse, go into our library, get ourselves a Forest, and then pass to our opponents. I'd love to use the Myriad Landscape right now, but we don't really have that option at the moment. Ooh, we drew a Dawn-Treader Elk. Let's pay 2. Crack the Myriad Landscape, and then pay 1, 2... yeah, just crack the Myriad Landscape. Crack the Dawn-Treader Elk. Dawn-Treader Elk's still in my hand. What am I doing? Go into the library. Let's go ahead and get swamps. Swamp, swamp. Bop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We are 3 mana away from a good Finale of Eternity play. We could try to get to it really quickly, or we can pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Play the Coiling Rebirth to go into our graveyard and reanimate something out of our grave, and we can reanimate it twice. If our opponents have problematic creatures, we probably get the Fleshbag Marauder out twice, but if we're trying to set up for the finale, I think it's going to be Nyx Weaver and Nyx Weaver's cousin, Nyxer Weaver, that we're going to be getting out of this. So then we move into turn 8, milling 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. I didn't like getting rid of any of those cards. And then drawing a Warden of the Cycle. If a creature dies, we are able to draw extra cards with this. Let's go ahead and pay 4, get the Warden out. Pay 1, 2, 3. Get the Dawn Treader Elk out. Let's go ahead and sack the Dawn Treader Elk, go into our library, get ourselves a Swamp, and then we'll be able to draw a card at the end of the turn because of the Warden of the Cycle. Vile Mutilator and the Darkness Garl are going to be punching people in the nose, and let's assume that somebody does anything at all that would get rid of one of our cards. We're just going to use the Village Rites and get rid of the Vile Mutilator. So we're basically drawing 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. And this is on an opponent's turn, so we don't have access to that swamp. We move into the next turn, and there's a Necroblossom Snarl. Now we still need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We are still 1 card off from using Finale of Eternity. This is where we have to make a choice. So Dreadhound can come out and give us a better setup graveyard for the Finale of Eternity. I also lied. The Sepulchre Primordial is... or the Snarl is actually not in my hand. I lied. That should have been milled. And the card in my hand is actually Golgari Rot Farm. So I think we play the Golgari Rot Farm, actually. And that basically solidifies what I'm doing. I'm just going to be playing Sepulchre Primordial. We're playing this. We're getting the best card from all of our opponent's graveyards all at once, so that no matter what they do, we have the advantage. This gives us a huge tempo swing in our favor. And then when we get to the next turn, we mill 1, 2, 3, 4. And then our draw is going to be the Rise of the Witch King. We play this forest. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If everybody's tapped out and nobody's got a counterspell to their name, we are tapping everything out. We are playing Finale of Eternity. We are blowing up 3 creatures, and we are summoning a bunch of dudes. So the way this is going to work is we have the Diligent Farmhand and the Dawn Treader Elk ready to go to get us mana later. The Fleshbag Marauder makes everybody lose 1 creature. Gaius makes everybody lose a 2nd creature. And then the Accursed Marauder makes everybody lose a 3rd creature. And then Vile Mutilator makes them lose a 4th creature. So we've gotten rid of 12 creatures from the Reanimate and then another 3 from the Finale. So 15 creatures and 3 enchantments are all going to go away. That is well worth spending 12 mana. And now that everybody's lost all their shit, we're just punching them in the nose as hard as we can. We end the turn drawing a card because of the Warden of the Cycle. If we even go into a next turn, we can just kind of keep on doing silly shit to people. We can just play the Dreadhound, milling 3 cards, and then burning people for a lot. Like, now we are just in the burning phase. People have lost all their stuff, and we have the big board. So, what would you do if we actually tried to put more money into the deck? If you're upgrading this deck, getting some very efficient beaters like Diamond Weapon and Lord of Extinction can help close out your games far easier. We can also mill a lot faster by putting in dredge cards like Golgari Grave Troll, and if we want to get to the big mana numbers so that we can cast those gigantic spells, why not add in a Rite of the Reliquary, another sack outlet which will allow you to get lands out of your deck as you need. With all the self-mill you're doing, you probably want to add in a Colossal Grave Reaver so that it's easy for you to reanimate tons of creatures. Let's also put in MDFCs into the deck like Malakir Rebirth so that your mana section is going to also double as your spell section. And you know what? Let's get a little more draw power with Ripples of Undeath, some better reanimation with Journey to Eternity, because when a creature dies with this on it, it turns into a land, not only ramping us, but allowing us to reanimate creatures a lot. And then finally, let's put in a Sheoldred the Whispering one, though obviously not this printing. We have to switch it over to a printing like this one instead, because for some reason Moxfield likes Phyrexian print things. Anyways, this will allow us to force people to sacrifice creatures and allow us to reanimate creatures a lot on our turn. That all said, I hope you guys did enjoy the deck. It is a controlling monster that can make you lose a lot of friends, but come on, you're playing a Golgari, mommy. You're here to simp for the thing in the command zone, and if anybody gets upset at you, that's their problem. They can figure out what to do with their lives. You already have your eyes on the prize. Although the prize is a woman who doesn't really exist, and if she did, she would probably break you, but that's besides the point. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Let me know what decks you want me to try to cover in the future. And as always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full-time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Blitzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Limor Pinku, Love Bunny Games, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Aurora, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fire Shard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.